Okay, I think I am going to get started because the presentation is a little bit long and I want to make sure, since we're getting a little bit of a late start, that we have time to get through it and then I can answer any questions that you might have as well. So my name is Ashley. I'm the Student Success Center Coordinator here in the College of Education. We are going to go over Teaching Credential Program today, including what our program looks like, as well as the application process. So since we are running late, let's get started. Okay, so I do like to talk about some things that make Sac State's program unique. We offer a pretty rigorous credential program in terms of curriculum and fieldwork. So 2, 3, and 4 semester program options, just depending on what your program looks like. Your coursework and your student teaching are all done concurrently throughout those 2 to 4 semesters. That has a really strong focus on social justice, multicultural education, training urban leaders. So we really want our students prepared to go out and work in the Sacramento region with the diverse population of students at our schools. So we work really closely with a lot of the Sacramento area school districts in terms of placing our students. Some of you may have heard we just held a big substitute teacher fair here on campus last week, where we brought districts on that they wanted to hire our recent undergrads as substitutes because they feel like students are well prepared here at Sac State. Again, I mentioned that you student teach 2 to 3 semesters in our credential program. So our candidates are getting an exceptional amount of field work in their program. So they're really prepared to go out and take over classrooms once they are fully credentialed. And our faculty have worked out in the field. They've worked in our districts, they work as consultants, they work on professional development with teachers out in the region. And so because of that, they're very well connected to what our school districts are looking for in terms of credentialed candidates. And the districts are really seeking out our graduates because of how well prepared our candidates are to take over classrooms once they're fully credentialed. So why should you choose Sac State? Right? There's a whole bunch of credential programs out there. Sac State is the largest credentialing institution in the region. Some of the reasons for that include the length of time to complete a program. I mean, in our multiple and single subject credential programs, you can complete the credential in 2 semesters, in as little as 2 semesters, so 1 year to get the credential. We do offer small cohorted groups. So when you're admitted to the credential program, you are placed into a cohort of approximately 25 to 30 students, just depending on the size of the applicant pool that we admit. And you basically progress through the program as part of your cohort. So it really creates a sense of community and support throughout your program. We talk a lot about the cost of our program and financial aid opportunities available to our students. And so you do pay a CSU credential level tuition in the program, which is approximately $4,200 a semester. But with that being said, we have substantial financial opportunities for students, including traditional loans, scholarships, grants, students that might have Pell Grant or Cal Grant eligibility from their undergrad can use that to apply towards their credential program as well. There's residency grants, state university grants. There are programs that you can apply for after you get your credential that are loan forgiveness programs. And so we really try to support students financially as they go through our program, because generally students are not going to be working full time during the program. And so we want to make sure that we have substantial financial support to help our students while they're in their program. And then continuous professional development as well. This could be anything from mentorship at your school site, continuing on for the MAT, coming back and doing continuing education courses with us. So we do really try to support you even as you're out in the field as a credentialed teacher. So becoming a public school teacher in California. To simply break it down, there's 2 things that are required. You have to know what you're going to teach. That's known as subject matter competency. and you have to show that you know how to teach. And that's what the credential program is going to do for you. So subject matter competency is something that is required for all of our programs, with the exception of our early childhood special education. And it's a really big piece of our application process. And so we'll dig into that a little bit more. There's two ways to meet subject matter competency. The first way is through a standardized test known as the CSET, so California Subject Exam for Teachers. And this is an exam that you will take in your subject area to prove that you know that content. The second way that you can meet subject matter competency is to have a major in the subject area that you want to teach. So some of you may have heard that there were some changes to subject matter competency requirements made over the summer through the legislature. And so it used to be that you had to be in a very, very specific degree program in order to meet subject matter through the undergrad coursework option. Now, as long as you have a degree in your subject area, you meet subject matter competency. So for elementary school teachers and sometimes our special education teachers, liberal studies majors meet the multiple subject content area. If you majored in English and you want to be an English teacher, you've met subject matter competency. And we can talk about that a little bit more too. But if you think that you've majored in your subject area, we can verify that for you. And then basically when you get ready to apply to the credential program, you'll just provide your transcripts verifying that your degree is in fact in the subject area that you want to teach. If you have to do the CSET exam, the content exam, so we have a lot of students who major in areas that they don't plan to credential in. You majored in ethnic studies, you majored in sociology, and you want to teach elementary school, or you want to teach, single subject social science. The CSET is going to be your option for meeting subject matter competency. It is a pretty intense subject matter exam. And so I do like to kind of go over what those testing options look like so that students can plan accordingly. Subject areas that we can consider core subject areas, your English, science, math, social sciences. Those exams are offered through a computer-based testing system Monday through Friday. So basically, you would find the testing center closest to you, schedule your date and time to take the exam, go to the testing center and take it. Single subject areas that are kind of more along the elective line, art, PE, music, world languages. Those testing options are a little bit more limited. And they are offered in 4-week testing windows a year. And that's kind of important to note, because if you do plan to credential in one of those subject areas, it does just take a little bit more planning on your part to ensure that you have adequate time to get those tests done prior to when our applications are due in February. During COVID, the testing administration for the CSET started piloting at-home online proctoring. So basically, for some of the subtests, they have started to allow students to register for a specific date and time and take the exam at home. So I know right now for the multiple subject CSET subtests 1 and 3 can be offered that way. So that is a new option that you are able to look into if you don't want to physically go to a testing center to take the exam. But there is some pretty strict restrictions, I would say. That's the feedback that I've heard from students in terms of like what your setup has to look like, what your background can look like, to make sure that your tests are valid once you complete the subtests. So that's absolutely an option too. Just look into it very carefully, and then you can decide what route is best for you, the at-home or the physical testing center. The nice thing about doing these tests online, either the at-home proctoring or going to a testing center, is for subtests that have multiple choice components. You actually get those results right away. So that's kind of nice too. It definitely will give you a sense early on after completing that subtest in terms of where you're at for passage of that particular subtest. If you do not pass a subtest, you do have to wait 45 days before you can retake it. So that is something to keep in mind again as you are planning out your test dates for our application cycle. Okay, so that's CSET. Subject matter. So again, meeting subject matter through courses, there's a couple different ways. If you are in what's called an approved subject matter waiver program, so at Sac State, we have approved subject matter waiver programs in liberal studies, in English, math, some of our social sciences, but they're very specific coursework that you would take in that. If you're a Sac State student, in our application, there is a form called subject matter verification form, and you will have your major advisor fill that out. If you are in a subject matter waiver program and you're not a Sac State student, you'll go back to the credential analyst at your home campus, and they will write you a letter verifying that you are in a subject matter program. Okay. If you completed a degree in your subject area that is not an approved subject matter program, that is still fine with the new guidelines that came out this summer. With your application though, like I mentioned, you will need to submit your unofficial transcripts so that we can verify that your degree is in fact in the subject area that you plan to teach. So 2 ways to verify subject matter competency through courses: subject matter waiver or unofficial transcripts that verify the degree in your subject area. Sound good? No questions for that? Okay. If you are in progress with your degree, so a lot of our students are graduating in the spring, they'll start the credential program in the fall, but obviously at the time that you apply to the credential program, you will not necessarily have completed your coursework for your major. That's fine. You can either provide a subject matter waiver letter indicating that you're in a program and you're in progress with completing coursework, or unofficial transcripts that show that you're in progress for that final semester. And then if you are admitted, you'll provide official transcripts with the degree posted so we can verify that all the requirements have been met. Sound good about subject matter competency? So let's talk about our program options. Sac State offers 3 different credentials. We offer the multiple subject, which is generally a K through 6 credential, our single subject, which is 7 through 12, and then an education specialist with 3 different authorizations within it: the mild moderate, the moderate to severe. That name actually just changed. It's not called moderate to severe. I'd have to double check the name. That just came out about a month ago, but formerly moderate to severe, and then our early childhood special education. All programs, like I said, with the exception of that early childhood special education, require subject matter competency be met for those. We also offer a bilingual authorization in Spanish and Hmong. The bilingual authorization is an add-on to your credential. So if you are biliterate, in Spanish or Hmong, that is an option that you can add on to your credential. You'd let us know that you want to pursue that option at the time that you apply, and then we'll connect you with our bilingual authorization advisor. I'll talk about that in a minute, and she'll review you for meeting those requirements. So again, I mentioned that we offer a cohorted structure for our program. So all of the students are admitted into smaller cohorted groups, and you complete the program within 2 to 4 semesters. So that 4-semester option is really for our special education programs. They are about 2 years. Our single subject program only has a 2-semester option, and then our multiple subject has a 2 or a 3-semester program option. So 2 to 4 semesters to complete your program. Again, I mentioned kind of the sense of support and community that the cohort model really offers for all of our students. So you basically are going to progress through the program together. We basically are going to tell you what you're going to take each semester in the credential program. That is how we ensure that you complete everything in a timely manner. All of our programs include the Masters of Arts in Teaching or Masters of Arts in Special Education Teaching if you pursue one of our special education credentials. It is an additional 3 semesters. So most students are going to finish their credential program in a spring. They'll be fully credentialed. They can go out, start teaching, and then you could do 3 additional semesters, including summer, so summer, fall, spring, part-time coursework to complete the master's. When you apply to the program, you are going to apply to the master's and credential concurrently. If for whatever reason you decide that you don't want to continue on and pursue the master's portion of your program, you are able to opt out of that once the credential portion is complete. Prerequisite courses. So we do offer some options for students to complete the prerequisites. The prerequisite courses vary by program. So if you wanted to get an exact list of the prereqs that are required for your specific program, they are listed in the application process, instruction processes. But for the most part, all students are going to take PUB H136, Education 100A and B, and Education 170. We do have CANES 172, which is a course unique to our multiple subject candidates, and Child Development 30, or any equivalent child, adolescent, or human development course that is unique to our early childhood special education programs. The prerequisite courses are not admission requirements, but they do need to be completed prior to starting the credential program. We do have some options for completing those courses. If you are a current Sac State undergrad and you've got room in your schedule, I do encourage you to take them here as an undergrad and build them into your remaining undergraduate coursework. We also offer all of the courses in summer school. So if you're admitted to the credential program, we will allow you and actually guarantee enrollment in any prerequisites that you need in the summer. That way you can complete them before starting the program in the fall. Or you can complete the prerequisites through one of our equivalent options. So on our website, we have a couple different forms to help you review the prerequisites to see if you have an equivalent course already completed. We do have quite a number of courses that have been reviewed at other institutions that have been determined as equivalent to our prerequisites, so you can review those. And we also have a list of options for completing the prerequisites on our website. So if you find that you haven't completed the courses, you can look into some of the options that we have for completing them. Full disclosure, for the Education 100A and B and the PUB H136, for students who need to meet those prerequisites, I'm a big fan of the UC San Diego online extension program to complete those courses. Those courses are 3 and 4 weeks online. They have rolling start dates and they're open university. So anyone can enroll in those courses at any time. And the cost of those courses is actually significantly cheaper than what Sac State is in the summer. So those would be 2 options to look into. But again, you can click on these 2 links on our website and one will provide you with a whole list of already approved courses. If you've taken one of those courses, perfect, just let us know with your application. If you need to still take a course, you can tell us how you plan to complete that, either through one of the equivalent options or in summer school, and just include that information with your application as well. Okay. But again, anything that you are not able to take through like an extension or prior to graduating will be offered to you in the summer. Okay, bilingual authorization, I mentioned this is a little bit as an add-on to our credential program. Again, it is an in-depth preparation for students to work with English language learners. So we do try to place students in dual immersion schools if they're pursuing the bilingual authorization. Currently, we offer the authorizations through coursework as part of the program in Spanish or Hmong. But the state as a whole offers bilingual authorizations in quite a few different languages. So if you're fluent in a language that we do not offer the authorization in, you could always add that authorization to your credential via a testing option. I included the information here for Karina Figueroa Ramirez. She is our equity coordinator and our bilingual authorization expert. If you are interested in the bilingual authorization, I do encourage you to reach out to her. She also holds information sessions specifically for candidates that want to pursue this authorization, because there are some additional requirements that need to be met. And so she will go over those if you meet with her or at one of her information sessions as well. But it's a really great thing if you are biliterate. We do encourage all students who are to look into this as an option. I mentioned a little bit about the master's. So all of our programs now are a Master's of Arts in Teaching or a Master's of Arts in Special Education Teaching with the appropriate credential that you plan to pursue. So all students are going to apply to the master's as their primary program, and it's going to include the credential. You can earn the credential without completing the master's. So again, you can complete that first year, year and a half, 2 years of the credential program. And then if you choose not to pursue the master's, you can opt out. If that's something that you decide to do, you do have 7 years to come back and complete the MAT coursework. If you are not sure if you want to pursue specifically the Masters of Arts in Teaching, Sac State does offer quite a few traditional MAs as well. Curriculum and instruction, language and literacy, multicultural education. We also offer an educational leadership MA for those that might want to pursue an administrative credential down the line. So we do have quite a few options if you're not sure if this is the correct or appropriate master's for kind of where you see your career going. I mean, we can always advise on that individually in our advising center, or you can always chat with your faculty in the credential program to make sure that this master's is the appropriate master's for kind of your career goals. This is just kind of an outline of the coursework that you'll take for the master's. Again, courses do start in the summer, so students will finish in the spring. They will take their action research course in the summer. It's a 5-unit course, and then you'll take 6 units in the fall, 6 units in the spring to complete the master's. The courses are sequenced, so they are taken in that order. There's no way to complete the master's in a shorter timeline. And then I included in here Dr. May Chaplin, who is the coordinator of our MAT program. So if you've got questions specifically about this portion of the program, she would be a great resource for you. The same structure is in place for students that want to pursue the Masters of Arts in Special Education Teaching. If you're going to credential in a mild, moderate, moderate to severe, or early childhood credential. 1 course in the summer, they have 1 course in the fall, and they actually have 2 courses in the spring. They have a little bit more coursework embedded in those first 2 years of their credential program. Again, sequenced the same way that the MAT is. And then Dr. Jean Gunster-Gurdon's contact information is right here as the coordinator of that program as well. So application process, where we get the most questions. We do have a new application process for applicants for fall 22. All applicants are going to do their full application process through the university's Cal State Apply system. So it is a $70 application fee to do the Cal State Apply application. But now there's 1 application. In the past, students had to do the Cal State Apply application and submit a supplemental application directly to the department. Everything now is done through Cal State Apply. We do have a couple of resources on our website, instructions for how to complete the Cal State Apply application, including how to set up your profile as well. Hannah, yes, what can I help you with?
Oh, hi. So I was curious, what is the acceptance rate into the Teaching Credential Program?
We can get into that in a little bit after we go over the application, but it is competitive. We are looking for students that have strong experiences as best as possible right now due to COVID. So, students that meet all of our application and admission requirements, we're really trying not to deny at all, because teaching is such a high need profession right now. Okay, so Cal State Apply. The nice thing about the Cal State Apply application, in my opinion, is that you can save it and go back to it at any time. So as we go over the list of documents that you're going to need to submit with your application, the nice thing about this application process is that, once you complete an item, you can upload it to your Cal State Apply application and then save it and kind of check that item off your list as complete. Some of the things that our instructions do go over are how to set up your profile in Cal State Apply. If you used Cal State Apply to apply to Sac State or any other CSU as an undergrad, you already have a profile set up. If you've never used Cal State Apply, then you'll go in, you'll create a login and set up your new profile. One of the things the profile asks is what your degree goals and objectives are. So you want to make sure that for your degree goals and your objectives, that you are saying that you are applying for a graduate, second bachelor's or beyond degree program. And your degree goal is going to be graduate. One of the options there is credential, but keep in mind that this is actually a master's program. So your degree goal needs to say graduate. If either of those preferences are not marked correctly on your application, you won't be able to locate the program that you are trying to apply for in the Cal State Apply program list. So those filters do need to be set correctly in order to locate the specific program. And they are listed under Masters of Arts in Teaching or Masters of Arts in Special Education Teaching. And then you'll just select the option that corresponds with the specific credential that you're seeking. So Masters of Arts in Teaching with a multiple subject credential, Masters of Arts in Teaching with a special education credential. But again, those extended profile settings do need to be correct in order to find the program. The Cal State Apply application instructions are built into the PowerPoint, and they're also on our website, and they detail that out as well. Okay, excuse me. So, application and admission process, transcripts. So, if you are a Sac State student, you do not need to provide any official transcripts with your application to the university. We have all of your transcripts on file, including anything that you may have transferred in. Keep in mind that this is just for the university. The university needs your transcripts. If you're applying to the program and you're using your degree to meet subject matter competency, you still need to submit unofficial transcripts through the system, but you don't need to mail in or provide any hard copy official transcripts. Okay. If you're not a Sac State student, then we do need official transcripts from all colleges and universities that you've attended. There is a link where you can submit transcripts electronically, or you can order all of your officials and have them mailed directly to the Office of Graduate Studies. But the officials are required for all non-Sac State students. So keep that in mind. If you're not a Sac State student, I think easiest thing is to order your transcripts as close to having your degree complete as possible. So that way we can see how close you are to completion of that. If you've already completed your degree, no problem. Order the transcripts and you can have them submitted. Okay, admission requirements. Pretty specific, so let's kind of go down this road here. Generally, all students are going to have completed their bachelor's degree at the time they start the credential program. There are a few exceptions to that for current Sac State students. Those are done kind of on an individualized course evaluation basis, but you should anticipate that all of your degree requirements are complete by the time that you start the credential program. So that means the latest that you can complete degree requirements would be summer 22 to start the credential program in the fall. Subject matter competency. So we talked about this a lot. This is either going to be met through your CSET exam or through an appropriate bachelor's degree in the subject area that you want to teach. So with that being said, in our application instructions that are posted on our website, we do have a form that you can fill out and include with your application that tells us how you plan to meet subject matter verification, coursework or CSET, and then you'll upload that with your application and include your documentation for how you've met that, either your subject matter verification or your unofficial transcripts. Any questions about subject matter competency? Because this is a big part of the application process. Yeah.
Hi there, I do have one question. Have we gone over CBEST requirements?
Nope, that's next.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. But we're good on CSET or subject matter competency. Okay. So
sorry, I got a quick question about the CSET.
Yeah.
I'm interested in single subject for math. There's different subsets of tests for math?
Yes, so you're going to do CSET to meet that, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Yes, so that's a great question. Math actually has two different authorization levels.
Okay.
So the first authorization level is foundational level math. That allows you to teach up to, but not including calculus and trigonometry. And to meet that authorization level, you just need to pass subtests 1 and 2. If you pass subtest 3 as well, that does allow you to teach calculus and trigonometry. If you just pass subtest 1 and 2, then you've definitely met the subject matter competency requirements for coming into the credential program.
Okay.
Not a problem. And then if at any time you pass that third subtest, we'll basically just add that authorization to your credential.
Okay, great.
No problem. And that can be done really with any CSETs. I didn't really talk much about this. But that is kind of the thing with CSET, is that if at any time you wanted to teach additional subject areas, additional to what you were initially credentialed in, you can basically just pass the CSET in those subject areas and add those authorizations to your credential. So that's a nice option.
Great, thank you.
Sure, no problem. Okay, so basic skills. The basic skills requirement, much like subject matter competency, had some changes over the summer. And now those requirements can be met in a variety of different ways, including coursework, which was not initially an option. If you're a Sac State student and you got a B- or better in your GE areas A2, A3, and B4, so that's your writing, your critical thinking, and your math, you've met basic skills now through coursework. Students can also meet the basic skills requirement through SAT and ACT scores. They can meet the basic skills requirement through CSU entrance exams, like the early assessment program. Or you can meet the exam the traditional way, for lack of a better word, through the CBEST. A great thing that happened this summer when they added the coursework option to meeting this requirement is they've now allowed students to mix and match methods for meeting the different subject areas for basic skills, right? So there's 3 subject areas: reading, writing, and math. Let's just say you've met reading and writing through your coursework. and perhaps you didn't have the grade needed to meet it through math. You could just take the math portion of the CBEST and combine that with your coursework and meet the requirement that way. So that's something that wasn't previously an option, that now is, and is, I think, going to benefit a lot of students. In the application, there is a form, again, that you'll fill out that indicates how you've met the basic skills requirement. If you're meeting it strictly through coursework or through a combination of coursework and you are a Sac State student, there's actually a form in the application packet that you can send to me, and I will verify those requirements for you. That way, when you apply, you'll just include that form and the applicant reviewers will know that you've met that requirement. But that is another one of our admission requirements. So if you haven't met it through any alternative methods and you do need to take CBEST, again, your goal is going to be to have that passed by February at the time that you apply to the program. All right, any questions about basic skills? Okay, a lot of our Sac State students are going to meet it through coursework, assuming that they've met the grade requirement, because we've basically identified GE areas. We know all Sac State students are taking those. Writing proficiency. This is an admission requirement that is generally met by whatever method you use to meet your basic skills requirement. So if you've taken the CBEST, it's automatically going to be writing proficiency. If you met basic skills through courses, that's going to meet the writing proficiency for you. So basically, when we are verifying your basic skills, assuming you've met that requirement, you're automatically going to meet the writing proficiency as well. If you haven't met at this point the basic skills requirement in its entirety, but you're a Sac State student, you took an upper division writing intensive course, that's going to meet writing proficiency for you as well. And you'll just note that on your application materials when you submit them. But for the most part, that usually doesn't require any additional testing on the part of the applicant because they'll already have met it with the basic skills. Minimum GPA. So our application requires a minimum GPA of 2.67 or a 2.75 in your last 60 or 90 units. If you've met the GPA requirement, awesome, you've met it. We don't look at applicants any differently if their GPA is above our minimum requirements. I will mention though that in a second, I'll talk a little bit about some scholarships, and a lot of our scholarships do require a higher GPA. So just keep that in mind, that if you plan to apply for some of our scholarships, 3.0 GPA or higher is usually required for that. If you don't meet our GPA requirement, you can still apply. And we do every year admit students who don't meet our minimum GPA, but have an exceptionally strong application otherwise. So that means all of your testing requirements are met, you've got really strong experiences, and you show potential to be successful in the credential program. So I would not discourage you from applying if you don't meet the GPA, but just make sure that you are putting together the strongest application possible. All right, so here's a fun one because of COVID, right? So experiences working with the age group and population that you want to teach. In the past, we've had a minimum of 45 hours. Really competitive applicants had closer to 100 hours of experience working with the age group and population that they wanted to teach. That experience usually could come from being in a classroom, observing a credentialed teacher, working in an after-school program. Obviously with COVID, the ability to get into a classroom setting and do observations, pretty difficult. So we do hope that you have some experiences coming into the credential program. But we are accepting, virtual observations. So if you were in a class that had a fieldwork component and you couldn't physically go into the class to do observations, virtual observations will count. If you completed any of the prerequisites here at Sac State as your undergrad, particularly Education 100 A and B and Education 170, both of those courses had fieldwork components. So even if the fieldwork was virtual, count that with your application. Any substitute teaching, any tutoring, coaching, again, after school programs, anything like that, where you may have in any setting worked with the age group or population that you want to teach, or you feel like you were in an experience where you gained some valuable experience that would kind of translate to working in a classroom, I would encourage you to include that in your application. In the application, there is a template, an experience template that you're going to complete. It's basically a 3-column chart. We ask you to tell us the dates of your experience, detailed description of your experience, and an approximate number of hours of your experience. If you are using experiences that are maybe a little bit more non-traditional, then talk about the population that you were working with in terms of like diversity, linguistically, culturally, socioeconomically. Talk about if you had like a leadership role, right? Like you led small groups, or you taught, small group instruction, right? I've had students that have done Sunday school. Include all of that, but you'll want to just be as specific as possible in terms of what you did in that particular experience, so the faculty can kind of get as much out of that experience as possible when they're evaluating you. My feeling on experiences, especially right now, is if you've had any experience that you think is valuable in terms of going into the teaching profession, include it in your application, and let the faculty that review kind of determine its value. But I think, since it's so hard to get the traditional experiences right now that we might have had prior to COVID, include anything that you think might have value in it. Reference forms. Okay, well, actually, anyone have questions about the experiences?
I do, but I think that you may have just answered it, but may I ask it just in case?
Yeah, of course.
So I'm enrolled in EDUC 100A/B, and we have a 30-hour minimum field experience requirement. And for those experiences, many of them include like completing modules, responding to movies, reading children's literature, etc. Now, for those virtual observations, it's not exactly observing.
So are you kind of doing like the alternate assignments for those?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the first time that we've really had to deal with these kind of like alternate assignments. I would say include them just because we know that in those prerequisites, you're getting some sort of experience that we want to see in our candidates. But anything that you can do moving forward, even if it's just, again, Zoom virtual observations, I think that would benefit you. It benefit anyone, really. But you're not alone. I've had quite a few students talk to me that they're doing alternative assignments for those fieldwork courses. So I would say include it. Another thing is that even though our applications are due in February, we will accept experiences that are in progress. So if you're going to take any of the fieldwork courses in the spring, obviously we know that you won't have the full set of hours done by the time our applications are due in February, but include that on your application anyways, because we will anticipate that you'll complete those activities in order to successfully complete the class. And that goes for anything, if you coach a spring sport, right? I had a student talk to me about he coaches Little League in the spring. Include that and the approximate number of hours. And so even though it won't necessarily be done by February, we'll take your word that you're going to complete those hours. Reference forms. So all candidates are required to submit 2 references. in your Cal State Apply application, there is a reference link. So basically you're gonna fill out the reference link on the Cal State Apply application, give us the name and the email address of who you want to complete those references for you. A link to a reference survey will be sent to those references on your behalf, and then they will fill them out for you and electronically submit them back to us. So nothing that you have to do other than just tell us who you want your reference forms to be sent to. Ideally, we ask that your references be one experience and one academic. But we're pretty flexible on that right now. Again, it's sometimes difficult to connect with your faculty if you've been virtual for the last year and a half. It might be difficult to get an experience reference if you haven't actually been able to go out into, you know, a school site or something and do physical observations. So we are flexible. We really hope that your references can attest to your kind of professional fitness questions, your professionalism, leadership, ability to be kind of successful in a fast-paced credential program, which is what we offer here. So in the past, we've done, you know, you could do 2 experience references if you don't have an academic reference. We've done job supervisors. But ideally, someone who can attest to your characteristics and academic abilities to be successful in the credential program is who we're looking for to do those references for you. All candidates are also going to write a professional goal essay. So the prompt is in the application instructions, both on our website and on Cal State Apply. Short version is that we want you to think of a critical issue in education and how that has influenced your decision to go into teaching. We want you to think about diversity in terms of like the populations that you've worked with. It is a 2-page double-spaced essay. It's not a research paper. You don't have to cite sources. It's a writing sample as much as it is a chance for you to tell us about your experiences and why you want to go into teaching. Type it up in a Word document. Once it's done, upload it to your Cal State Apply application. And then the last big piece of our admission requirements is the certificate of clearance. And this is a 2-part background check that all candidates have to do. It is done through the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. So the first part is a fingerprint clearance. Again, links to all of the instructions and the fingerprint clearance document are on our application instructions on our website. The first part is a fingerprint clearance. So you're going to print a live scan form, so a fingerprinting live scan form, and take that to any live scanning agency. FedEx stores and UPS stores do fingerprinting. Police stations, sheriff stations will do it as well. I think the FedEx stores and UPS stores are probably the cheaper option. And you might not need an appointment to do that, but you'll do the fingerprinting, you'll take the form, get fingerprinted. Your live scanning agency is going to electronically send your fingerprints directly to the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. Concurrently, you'll go onto the CTC website and fill out the online application for the certificate of clearance. That document will be matched to your fingerprints and your background check will be run. If you've got nothing to disclose in your background, certificate of clearances are usually granted within 3 to 5 weeks. Once your document has been granted, you'll save a copy of it and then upload that with your application. If you've already applied for any other document through the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, a substitute permit, a child development permit, those documents will meet the background check requirements. So as long as they're valid, you could submit those in lieu of the certificate of clearance. If you've got anything to disclose in your background, it doesn't mean that your clearance won't be granted, but the process for getting it reviewed could be substantially longer, sometimes 6 to 8 months I've seen. So if that is something that you have to disclose, you will want to start this process as soon as possible. So just keep that in mind. But again, detailed instructions on how to apply for the certificate of clearance are included in our application instructions on our website, as well as the Cal State Apply application site. Once you have submitted your Cal State Apply application with all of your supporting documents, all candidates are contacted for a group interview. So after the deadline, usually a week or so after, you will get an email from the department with instructions on how to schedule your applicant interview. At this point, honestly, I'm not sure if they're going to be virtual or in person. Obviously, prior to COVID, they were in person, but I'm not sure what that looks like. But you should anticipate an interview of some form late February into March, possibly into early April, just depending on the number of applicants that we have. But everyone gets an interview, regardless of what their application looks like, right? So we're reviewing your physical applications and doing the interviews concurrently. Any questions about anything I went over in terms of admission requirements?
I have a few, but I don't want to take up everyone's time. So if anyone else has any questions, then feel free to ask them first.
I think you're good. Go for it.
Okay. So I first had two questions, then one question about the group interview. So for the questions of confirmation, just to be clear, for the reference forms, we do not have to find professors or colleagues, etc., and email them and ask them to write the letter of recommendation. We just give the name and email, and then the survey will be sent on their behalf.
That's correct. You may want to just
Okay.
give your reference a heads up, because the email with the link to the reference, my understanding is it comes from like a third-party server. So if your reference has high filters on their email, it could get filtered out of their inbox. So just give them a heads up on that. But they don't actually have to write you a physical letter. They'll just fill out the survey on your behalf.
Okay, and two more questions.
Yeah.
So for the essay, just to clarify, we do not need to include cited sources?
Correct. It's not a research paper. It's just a personal statement.
Oh, so does that mean, so then we would not need to include additional research or anything like that, just a personal?
Yep.
Okay. And then one for the group interview. So for example, when we're creating our application and we don't realize that we forgot to include specific information, like for example, I do not get the two reference forms and I only have one. Will that impact our application, meaning that we will not be accepted into the program, or will we have an opportunity to revise our application and update it?
I am under the impression that if a particular document is missing, once the department has had a chance to review your application, we will try to follow up with you. Because this is the first time that we are using Cal State Apply to facilitate the whole application process, it's hard to know if there's going to be any glitches. Like, we hope not. We've tested it as best as we can. But we try really hard to work with our applicants if something is missing. That won't prevent you from getting a group interview. At the time that you get the email to schedule your group interview, we probably won't even have an opportunity to review your application. We'll basically we run a report of all the students who've submitted the application and invite them to interview.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions about the application and admission requirements?
I do actually. Thank you. And you might have totally covered this and I just missed it. But
Okay.
Is there like a time window you want us to like a cutoff for the experience hours? Like, obviously not stuff like from years and years ago, but should I include stuff in the last year, last 2 years? Like what do you recommend?
Yeah, I didn't cover that. So that's a really great question. In the past, recency has played a huge role in our experiences. But now my feeling is if you had strong experiences 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, I would include them, because the chances of those being kind of in-person experiences, as opposed to the types of experiences you may have gotten in the last year and a half, probably pretty strong. So I would say go for it. If you think that there's value in the experiences and it was 5 years ago, I would include it. COVID kind of really shook that up for us. So if you think there was value in an experience, I would include it.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Any other questions about the admission requirements?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I don't know if you covered already, but what's the deadline for applying?
All applications are open now. Multiple and single subject applications are due February 1st.
Okay.
Education specialist credential applications are due March 1st. We don't review applications prior to the deadline, meaning that there's no incentive necessarily to complete the application prior to the deadline other than to just be done with it. Right. So make sure that you have your application as complete as possible. If you submit it on February 1st, no problem.
Great, thank you.
Did someone else have a question?
I did.
Yeah.
So I currently work with 4- and 5-year-olds in like a pre-K preschool setting. Would I be able to solely rely on that for my 45 hours of experience, or should I look for something more in like a traditional kind of school setting?
You're looking to pursue the multiple subject?
Yes.
I would say try, right? I would say if you're able to do anything in a traditional multiple subject setting, it's only to your benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And if your only experience is pre-K experience, of course, they want you to include it and submit it with your application. Again, it's hard right now because we know it's hard to get into classrooms. We know it's hard to get those traditional experiences. But the more you can do in the setting that you want to teach, the stronger your application is going to be.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions about the admission requirements? Okay. All right, and the deadlines, again, they're posted both on the CalCIT Apply application and on the instruction packet that we do have on our website. So I mentioned briefly that we do offer quite a bit of financial assistance for our applicants. So you do want to make sure that you fill out the FAFSA for the fall 22, spring 23 academic year. The FAFSA does need to be on file if you plan to apply for any of our scholarships and grants. And we have substantial scholarships and grants, both through the College of Education and Sac State as a whole. On the College of Education Student Success Center website, there's a link that says scholarships. Scholarship applications are open now. So fill out the FAFSA and then you can fill out the scholarship application. For the most part, only one scholarship application is needed to evaluate you for all of the scholarships that you might be eligible for. So if you fill out the general scholarship application, it will filter you through both college and university scholarships to see where your eligibility lies. There are some additional scholarships that we offer that do require a separate application or some supplemental materials. Those are all listed on the scholarship website. So we do have some scholarships that are unique to our math and science applicants. We do have some scholarships that you can apply for that have some employment stipulations on the back end. And those do require supplemental applications, but links to those and all that information is on our website as well. So, you know, things that you can start doing now, again, filling out your FAFSA, setting up your CalCIT Apply profile. That way you can start kind of uploading applicant documents as you go. I believe our scholarship applications are due in March. Credential applications due February for multiple subject and March 1st for our special education applicants. February 1st for March, sorry, for multiple subject and single subject. I don't think I mentioned single subject. And yeah, that's what I have for you guys today. I am happy to hang out and answer any additional questions. The presentation is recorded. So this will be posted on our website probably within like the next couple of days. You can always refer back to it. And of course, you can always reach out to our office if you have any questions. But yeah, I'll hang out in case there's any other questions here now.
One question about scholarships. So just to clarify, we must apply for FAFSA in order to be eligible to apply for scholarships?
Correct. So even if you're not sure if you're gonna accept traditional financial aid to cover your credential program, the FAFSA does need to be on file in order to apply for the scholarships and grants.
Oh, and the reason why I asked is because I do not qualify for FAFSA, but should I still apply anyways?
Yes, absolutely, you should. Also, if you didn't apply or qualify as an undergrad because your financial need was based on parental income, that is not the case for the credential program because the credential program is considered a post-bac program. So financial need in the credential program is based on individual applicant income. It does not take into account parental income.
Oh, thank you so much. That information is wonderful.
Yeah, no problem.
Those are all the questions I have. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate this.
Thank you. Thank you guys for your patience too while I reset up our Zoom link here. So, all right, if that's it, I'm gonna go ahead and end this show here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
I have one question.
Yeah.
As far as the hours, I was going through the slides and there was like from 8 to noon and from 8 to 2, like the hours Monday through Friday. It's kind of like an example schedule.
Oh,
So
you were looking at the multiple subject or the single subject?
the multiple subject.
Okay.
So I was just wondering like what kind of like hours are required. I wanted to, I'm looking for a job right now. So I don't necessarily want to get a job and have to quit it, like to meet the hours.
So you really should anticipate that your credential program is going to be a full-time daytime program, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, between your coursework and your student teaching. One of the ways that students do sometimes work during the credential program would be through positions that are maybe really flexible, evening, weekend, service type positions, retail, where the hours are really flexible and you can adjust them based on the workload in the credential program.
Okay, and is the student teaching, or is that paid or?
So when you fill out your FAFSA, you can indicate that you are interested in work study. So student teaching traditionally is an unpaid experience. However, if you indicate that you are interested in work study, you could potentially qualify for that during the credential program. So it's basically a financial aid stipend, but it's not actually a paid student teaching position.
Okay, and then my last question was, you said for the multiple subject, you can do it with like in 3 semesters. Does that lighten the load for?
Slightly, yes, it does, for sure. The biggest thing between our 2 and 3 semester program option is students in the 3 semester option. Their first semester is more of an observation and participation fieldwork experience as opposed to assuming student teaching responsibilities. So it does give you one additional semester of classroom observations before you start assuming classroom responsibilities through student teaching.
Okay, and it would still be like 8 to 5 times.
Yeah, it's still full time.
Okay.
But that's the biggest difference.
Okay. I think that was all, because on the example slide, it showed some classes like till 7:30 or something. And
Yeah, there are some classes that are going to go in the evening. You do have some breaks during the day. Some of our some of our candidates work on campus. They might do tutoring on campus that they can do, in between their coursework because the program is in person. So that would be an option as well. That schedule is pretty accurate.
okay.
It doesn't really change much from year to year. So it's a pretty good indicator of what your availability would be. If you were to, take on a sort of a part-time employment during the program. The program is intense for sure. So I think for a lot of students, it really kind of comes down to how they can manage the workload. And that's an individual, preference.
Yeah,
See where you're at.
I know, because just as a single mom, I'm like, okay, like how do I get my kid? She just started middle school and
Yeah.
she's struggling too after COVID. Like, she's just behind on math. I'm just like, just don't know how to squish it into.
I totally get it. That's why, we try really hard to offer as much financial assistance as we can. But I know it's not perfect, right? I get it. But definitely qualifying for like maybe some of our teacher residency grants, stipends, and then there's loan forgiveness programs as well. I didn't really mention much about this, but once you complete a credential program and you're teaching, you can apply for loan forgiveness programs. So if you do have to take out financial aid, traditional financial aid during your program, you can always apply for loan forgiveness programs. Public service loan forgiveness programs that give you stipends for every year that you teach in a Title I or hard to staff school. There's programs that forgive your remaining loan balance after making payments on it for a certain amount of time. So there are those options out there as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Hi, Ashley. I just had a question.
Sure.
So after reviewing your session, you mentioned that there was courses that would qualify for waiving the CBEST. I have those courses. I completed those courses. I'm just waiting to get like the papers like approved and signed off.
Okay.
Another question that I had is I'm currently in the integrated pre-credential subject matter program.
For child development?
Yes, for child development.
Cool.
Which
That's a waiver for CSET.
Which waives your CSET. So I just want to get confirmation from you, Ashley, that there is no additional test that I need to apply to the credential program at Sac State.
Correct. So your program is a waiver program. So specifically, you will send me that subject matter verification form that's in the application, and I will sign off on your subject matter verification for you.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Ellie. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, no problem.
Bye. Take care.
All right. Thank you guys for coming today. Again, this is going to be posted on our website, hopefully within the next couple of days.